Good evening. This is the regular meeting of the Belgrade Planning Board of April 3rd. We're here to, we have two significant applications, or two applications, I will say. Before us, we'll start the meeting by introducing ourselves. Well, oh yeah, I knew you. Yeah.
I know you.
I can read this too. Peter Sargent. I'm Rich Baker.
Nick Sicaro. Craig Alexander. Code Officer Hans Rasmussen.
Okay, and if you haven't signed the sign-in sheet up front here, do so before we leave. Anyway.
Hey, Rich, I'm also in attendance.
Right, yeah, George Seal, I'm sorry.
As well as.
He's attending my Zoom, nursing his knee.
And Joe Martin, right? As
Yes,
well.
and Joe Martin from the consultant, site. Joe, we did get your letter addressing some of the issues from the last week. And I guess you want to say anything about that, or otherwise I will go down through it a little bit.
Not specifically. If there's any questions related to any of the additional information, I can certainly answer those.
Okay. George, you don't have a copy of that, do you?
No, I don't.
I'm gonna.
I didn't see it on the town website either.
First of all, the agent authorization, which we had a concern, last week we had 5 significant issues that we need to deal with, and some of them are addressed here in the letter. Some of the issues were minor, and Joe has addressed those as well. The authorization letter from the town has been included. The distance of the drinking well at Hammond Lumber down to the project, 2,500 feet. I looked at that afterward and realized that well over 1,000 feet. They were able to obtain the main DOT permit, and that's in our packet. And they have again requested the waiver from the signage, partly because it's gonna be just sign on the building itself. There's gonna be no up and down kind of stand-up sign. They have applied for the permit submitted to DEP for the NRPA permit. They have suggested that, and talking with the designer, Mark Hampton, feels that it's a minor issue, and that, however, that they will be willing to have monthly inspections of the oil water separators as sure it is operating. And if substantial oil or unsuitable material is encountered, it will be pumped as necessary. I think this will be something we will continue to address in a few minutes. And then, let's see, I won't go over everything, but the fire department is formally requesting that the 5,000 gallon water storage tank to be installed within the footprint of the building. And it talks about filling no more than 500 gallons in any 24-hour period. And then there are numerous minor changes, and I'm not sure really how we deal with this. Things such as the concrete pad for the propane tanks be relocated to the rear of the building, and the generator pad be decreased in size after retaining additional information. There are several of these things, and having not been chairman committee before, I'm not sure how we address these whether the consultant needs to provide a copy of these changes to us and, like I said, that they're all seem to be minor things, but I don't know if they need to be formally.
Amended?
Pardon me?
Like amended, formally amended?
Yeah, an amendment on the plan or whatever. And things such as the bollards being proposed in the parking spaces in the rear of the building are now replaced with concrete wheel stops. So I would ask George, who's our deputy chairman or whatever, would you think that these need to be, we could do a condition that all these are, shown on the, plans before the permit is, provided,
Before construction.
before construction?
Yeah, we need to put.
Yeah. They're things that are not of real significance.
From what you've read of the, and classified as minor, I would say probably not. As long as the description in the letter is adequate, to give Hans a sense of what he can expect when he inspects this facility. My question would be though, about the 5,000 gallon underground. I believe it was, you said underground water storage tank, if that shouldn't be shown on the site plan.
Well, it's going to be in the footprint of the building. So, I mean, we could certainly show a tentative location. I think it's going to be ultimately designed of what the final foundation design requires and where that tank can be squeezed in.
Oh, okay. Well, and does it say that in the letter?
It just says the 5,000 gallon tank will be in the footprint of the building.
Oh, my personal feeling then that would be adequate in itself. I would be more concerned about if it was outside the footprint of the building, someplace where someone unbeknownst in the future, 5-10 years from now, starts going wild with an excavator.
Yeah. That's not gonna happen.
It's gotta be a portion of the living village.
Yeah.
And then obviously.
But it definitely says within the footprint of the building.
Yeah. So based on that, Rich, my personal feeling is that then probably the letter is adequate as a update to the application that was originally submitted, including the site plan.
Okay. Whether Hans has done so or not, or considered, we will consider this an official part of the packet of the application.
Rich, excuse me.
Yes.
Joe did send in new drawings that have all those changes on them, other than the location of the
Oh,
tank.
we do have that.
Yeah, that was at the back end of the letter. So he updated all the drawings.
That's his lead drawing for you.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't think we received that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, got him, I don't steward.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I didn't
That's
see, I
it.
didn't see it, I was looking,
The tank's not on there.
yeah.
not the tank, but like the new
Oh,
location
the
of
new pads.
The
propane
pads.
the bollard.
I was more interested in the tank, as George said, that's what I was looking for, but.
Now, the other issue that I'd like to address, or at least look at, the letter indicated that we received an erroneous copy of the planting plan or landscape plan. And I'd ask Joe, the one that included in all these packet, the 14 by 11 by 14 sheets, this landscape plan is the correct one. Is that?
Yes,
Yes.
the only difference between the previous one and the one that's in what you're looking at right now is there was 3 street trees that were in the right of way, and I got that originally from the landscape architect, And I told him, no, those can't be in the right of way. We've got to take them out. And he did it and then sent it back to me. And then I grabbed the wrong plan when I printed it and initially delivered it to you. So it was completely my fault. But the only change is that I think it was 3 street trees that are within the right of way. That just with the concerns with sight distance at that location, especially looking north, we definitely don't want to have anything there that could impede that.
Okay. And so to go back to the 5 things that were remaining last meeting was the DEP permit for the vernal pool area, and that's was addressed in the letter that hasn't been gotten, but it's been submitted. The certified contractor and name will be provided prior to construction. And there was the oil water separator issue, and George Seal, co-chairman, drafted a Joe, have you seen that? It's the conditions that were to be placed or that were recommended to be placed on the permit, if forgotten, that dealt with the DEP permit, the main and the entrance permit from Maine DOT, and the oil water separator issue.
Yes.
Okay,
I didn't see the raw water separator issue. What's
pardon me? Oh, it's not,
what George Smith?
okay, it was you didn't get a copy of that, huh?
Well, do I have it here?
Uh,
I didn't see it in the video, so if I missed it, I missed it.
Have you seen that?
And I only had it on my phone.
You have
Uh,
copies? Okay. That-
No,
No, so none of us know what that is.
I posted all this stuff 2 weeks ago, or the last,
Pardon me?
anyway. I did not copy George's
Okay.
email with those.
Could you get a copy or make one?
Yeah.
Number 6, are you talking number 6 on the sheet? Providing more information on all.
Yeah.
Water separator,
Yeah.
Okay.
is that,
While we're waiting for, go ahead.
is that complete, what you're looking for?
Well, we were gonna, well, George was recommending that we not essentially do it by condition that it cannot violate the water discharge standards to the groundwater. And what the applicant and their engineer or other consultant design something that will comply with the standard. That would have been a condition.
So you want to be sure that it doesn't look, it meets the water discharge standards.
Right, and that's a condition and it's a provision in our ordinance.
Okay,
Hans is printing it out now, so
Yeah.
you'll be able to read something, Joe.
We don't have something in here.
Well, Hans is getting that. I think we can probably discuss the 2 waivers that have been requested.
The signage.
One of them is the vegetated buffer. And I went by there just before coming here, and I see there's a good buffer on, as I think Joe mentioned last week, on the neighbor to the left. I guess that's Alexander's, right? On the right side, there's a couple of larger trees and not a whole bunch of them. I assume that those trees are going to, as part of the project, some or all of those trees are gonna be removed to fit the station. I couldn't really tell where the boundary line is between you guys and Bill now. Where that is, I noticed like two garden areas, where you used to have the tulips, whatever, gladiolas, and then there's appeared to be another one to the left.
It's,
And I'm kind of
There
was
is-
wondering where the boundary line goes.
There's, the boundary line is, there's one oak tree that would be on my side, and I think the closest tree, which is right on the, near the road, would be on the side of the other property on the other side of the town, so it would be to my advantage any of those trees right there to be taken down. The only,
As
yeah.
speaking as the neighbor.
it's, yeah, I've got a few things that, when I get ready, I can talk to you about on the, stuff like that. If they plan on putting any kind of barrier there of any plantings, it would be nice if they were trees that didn't fit the leaf.
So you wouldn't shed a lot of leaves?
Yeah, right, I fight with leaves my entire life. And when the wind blows from the south, they all end up in my yard.
Does anybody here have any thoughts or comments about the revised plan and the request for the waiver?
I'm good with it.
I'm good. Okay. Anybody else?
Could I bring up a couple other things while you're
Oh,
on?
sure.
landscaping?
Yeah.
Since you guys aren't really familiar with that, in the dead of winter, on the south side of that property line, where all those pines are, you may want to take in consideration as far as whether or not you could change your plantings along there. It's just that that area gets no sun in the dead of winter because of those pine trees that run all the way up to the property line up back there.
It's along the
Those big-
Alexander.
those-
property line.
Yeah, plus and that further past there, right on the corner of where the road goes up over the hill. And you've got a lot of hot top that's gonna be there, and I would think it'd be, if there was some way to change, taking down that, so you've got some sun to be able to work with you, to keep your less work for the town, to keep that
Mhm.
in the winter time, because in the dead of winter, the sun is so low that you get no sun in there. And I would think it would save everyone a lot of work and a lot of time, more sun that you can get in there to dry it up, and melt the ice and snow in the dead of winter. Yeah, whether or not it be, I don't know how it works as far as taking down a couple of those big pine trees. And whether or not you can get permission to plant other trees, especially around that wet area.
Mhm.
I would think it would be an awful big help in the long run, down the road.
Are some of these trees in the neighborhood of the, vernal pool, whatever, so. That would, whatever would be taken out would have to comply with whatever those rules are. We can't change that, but I would say that. Well. I'm not sure what I would say as far as.
But whatever you.
Hey,
whatever
Red?
they-
Yes,
Whether you
sure.
could look at, whatever you could look at to be able to make it better down the road for the town to be able to maintain your back lot there. Parking lot, it would be an awful lot of help, I would think, for the town to save you a lot of time and money.
George,
I think we're getting ahead of ourselves. I think we need to decide whether we got a complete application and also then vote on the waivers. But to the point you were making, I think you're spot on. It would be really premature to be increasing the amount of clearing of natural vegetation until such time as the town has their permit under the Natural Resources Protection Act for the significant vernal pool, because part of that is they're going to look at how much undisturbed vegetation is there as habitat for salamanders and all that other stuff that goes along with a significant vernal pool. So it'd be a real shame to cut today and have to replant tomorrow.
But it's something that I guess my thinking is maybe we don't really act on that issue and, if and when the fire department gets a permit, they wanna remove some trees that would be in line with that permit, that they come back to us and, get approval either through us or through Hans if we give him the authority.
Yeah, I think that's the more prudent approach.
Mhm.
Otherwise, it could be undermining the town's attempt to get the Natural Resource Protection Act permit.
George, I'm just throwing this out just so that it's food for thought right now, as far as whether or not anyone has actually thought about that, as far as the long run, as far as to take advantage of the sun in the dead of winter, you help maintain your parking lot out back there, so that's all I'm really is bringing it up, so since
Rich,
So, Bill, as a neighbor, it sounds like you are okay with what the fire department's plans would be on your side of the property.
the only thing is, has anyone thought about snow removal? The only thing I would be concerned about, which should be thinking about is, where you've got a lot of parking area out back, where are you gonna push in your snow? I would hope not towards my property line, because if you've got big banks of snow on my side, then that will just, because I've got all that drainage comes down towards me, and it just would be longer before my lot would dry up. And I don't know whether or not an architect takes into consideration as far as where everything is positioned out back there, as far as where you push all your snow when we have a decent winter with a lot of snow.
Yes, Penny.
would you ask the people that are online to identify themselves? I don't know who PD is or Amy or somebody else.
So the last comment was mine, Penny George.
Eric D, PD and Amy, I don't know who they are.
Oh. What's the initials?
Eric, ERIKD.
Eric, could you identify yourself?
It's Eric Domingo.
Maybe he's not there anymore, he was.
We're all friends of Jeff's for the permit coming up.
Okay,
Jeff.
so then for the shoreline zone permit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
we're
okay.
just friends and family.
Yeah.
What's his name? Eric D.
Domingo.
Domingo,
Domingo?
Yeah.
Who's PD?
Patty Domingo.
Oh, PD is somebody else.
Patty
Patty,
Domingo.
Patty.
Okay, and who's Amy? Amy Ayotte, gotcha.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
I'm not sure, there's no.
All right, so. Let's.
I
Let's go
can,
back.
I can answer the question on snow removal if you want me to.
Yeah, I don't think snow removal has anything to do with whether or not we, would have a complete application or even approve a plan. It's definitely a concern to you as I get, but it doesn't really pertain to.
Well, I didn't know whether or not.
Yeah.
Anything had been taken in
Yeah.
consideration as far as your design of your landscaping and stuff.
No, I get it, I get it, I totally get it, I'm just. Whether or not this is a complete application.
Yeah, I
Exactly.
guess we need to, address that. What I can see is, they have addressed everything in the application. We need to make decisions on the issue of, lost my train of thought. The two waivers.
Yeah.
And also if we place any condition for the oil water separator or the, let's see. DEP permit.
Yeah.
But other than that,
And also the signage waiver.
the sign.
I don't even-
waiver.
George, do you think that they even need a waiver for that signage if it's just individual letters on the building? If it's not a plate, you know,
Placard.
a placard sign, they're not even gonna put a placard sign.
Yeah,
It does say on the building.
yeah, I'm not.
But if it's
At the
individual.
last meeting, wasn't sure how to apply that 32 square foot standard in the ordinance to a sign of that nature where it's like multiple signs and maybe it's the sum total of the square footage of each letter.
But regardless, we
Yeah.
can vote on whether or not we,
Whether we waive that.
we waive that, considering it's a fire station that should be visible, they should have a big.
I think
Yeah.
it's got, leave it.
Yeah, I'd
There's
rather
no
waive it,
issue.
so yeah, we can vote
So-
on that.
Rich, is that the second waiver request?
The other waiver request is the buffer. The second waiver request is the signage on the
Oh,
building.
okay. Yeah, I mean, I think that was Craig. And as well as Nick, I'm certainly inclined that's a reasonable request,
Yeah.
given the kind of facility this is.
Okay, let's go back to voting whether we have a complete application of this one. And I would offer any discussion first or a what the heck is the word? A motion, yeah. You clearly can see I haven't been the
No, you're
regular
doing
chairman of this
great.
board.
Great.
And you're doing great, we appreciate it.
Okay.
George, you don't have any issues, right? George,
Well, let's make a motion
Yeah.
and then we can discuss.
Yeah, we have a
I make a motion that we have a complete permit for the Belgrade Fire Station. About 1387 Augusta Road, Belgrade, Maine.
yeah, I second it.
Okay. Complete application.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Now
So we've
discussion.
got 5 people. To the motion to accept the application as.
Yes. We can have a discussion now, then we can vote. on it.
Yeah.
So,
Anybody?
so Rich,
Yeah,
I would just note that I agree with Craig's motion, just with the footnote that the missing permits be submitted at a latter date, and that'll be addressed through a condition of approval.
Yeah.
all right, we ready to vote?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
Nick?
Yes,
Yes,
George?
Yes,
Yes, for me as well. So it's a 5-0 vote that the application is complete. Okay. Do we want to address the waivers first?
Yep.
Okay. Does anybody have any problem with the waiver of the sign standard? These are signs on the front of the building, assume similar to the one in the lakes, where Del Pulsifer Fire Station. Any questions, comments?
I think it's fine.
We have a motion.
I make a motion to approve the waiver for the size of the sign.
I'll second it.
Okay. First and a second, any discussion? Let's vote on it. Pete,
Yes.
Nick,
yes,
Craig,
Yes.
George?
Yes,
Okay, I'm voting a yes as well. Again, 5-0 vote on the waiver. All right. Now we got the other issues, the one,
One more waiver.
one more waiver.
oh, yes. Okay, we have a waiver for the buffer standards along the road. And I assume it would have to be also on the adjacent property. Because there's essentially no buffer there and really no room, but. Guess I'd take any comments related to the buffer. And anybody opposed or get concerned? Yeah.
Comments? Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the waiver of the buffer zone.
Second by Craig. Any further discussion? Okay, let's vote. Peter?
Yes. Yes.
Nick?
Yes,
Craig? George?
Yes,
And myself, yes. So again, 5-0 vote on the waiver.
Did you have a waiver? Oh, no, conditions for oil separator D.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's,
we haven't got
we
to
haven't
that.
got there.
Okay.
Okay, so the other issues that we had addressed last week, one of them was the DOT entrance permit, which has been obtained and is part of our packet. The other issue is the DEP permit regarding the vernal pool. And also, George last week had an issue, we talked about a little already about the oil water separator thing, and let me read these definitely, or at least the first one for sure, it needs to be a condition. And the proposed condition would be relating to the city. Yeah, it really, it will deal with the main DEP Stormwater Management Act in terms of stormwater permit, and the main DEP Natural Resources Protection Act relating to the vernal pool. And the proposed condition would be project construction, including clearing of vegetation, may not be initiated until all the following state permits have been approved by the applicable agencies and copies provided to the Belgrade Code Enforcement Officer. Main DEP Stormwater Management Permit and main DEP permit under the Natural Resources Protection Act. And let's see.
MDOT highway.
No, they submitted that, so that one falls out. So that would be the condition, that would be attached to any permit that would be issued.
Rich,
Yes,
there's one more sentence, at least on the version I emailed to Hans and Sarah, at the end of that. This condition does not apply to the demolition of existing structures on the project parcel.
yeah, I just, never got to that sentence.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
But it is here in the packet. So does anybody want to, any discussion on that one at this point?
I have a question. There's 2 DEP things that you need. One has to do with the vernal pool.
Yeah, that's the Natural Resources Protection Act. It's
Okay.
related to the vernal pools, and the stormwater management plan permit is a DEP permit under the I guess stormwater management.
Okay. So there's 2 DEP things that you.
Yes,
Gotcha.
it'd be 2. Okay, and Craig, I know you're interested in this. George had also suggested that a condition on the permit be, let's see. Okay, this development, including the subsurface discharge of effluent from the proposed oil water separator serving the fire station 4 drains, shall not increase any contaminant concentration in groundwater more than 1/2 of the primary drinking water standard, or to a concentration exceeding a secondary drinking water standards established by the Maine Department of Human Services Center for Disease Control. And this comes out of our ordinance. Essentially, that is one of the standards. And this would be kind of,
so that's a standard.
yeah, kind of address.
Well, we don't have a standard for floor drains, but,
It's more the standard of the groundwater issue, not the storm drain itself.
okay, so I was just asking, my concern was, what is 1/2 of the primary drinking water standard? Is that So that's in our ordinance.
It's one of the standards in the ordinance.
Okay,
And that way, we're not telling them what to do. It's basically meet the standard.
yeah, okay.
Do we have any comments from the fire department or? Okay, so, Hans, do you have the paperwork for the, going down through and deciding?
The checklist.
Yeah, the
Checklist
checklist?
or the findings of fact. Because the checklist, I thought you took and you were gonna.
Yeah, we have the checklist already. Find it.
Oh, I'm talking about the stuff that Sarah does or
Findings of fact.
findings of fact.
Hey, Rich,
Yo,
just a couple of suggestions. One, you as acting chair need to sign the checklist at the very bottom and
uh-huh,
provide that to Hans.
okay, I do have that here.
Okay,
Um,
good. And then after you've done that, I'd like to I have a suggestion for the for Joe and for the fire department on it's also related to the issue of the effluent discharge from the oil water separator. And I also have a question about that as well as part of the discussion before we move on to making our findings of fact in law.
Okay, why don't we do that right now, George?
The I didn't say too much about this at the last meeting because I was a little uncertain about and couldn't quite recall the applicable DEP regulation or potentially applicable DEP regulation. But Joe, I wanted to bring to your attention DEP has a rule that's called Rules to Control the Subsurface Discharge of Pollutants. It's chapter 543, and this is only my suggestion on something to follow up on. And it goes above and beyond what's allowed in the effluent going to a septic tank and then to the groundwater beyond what's in DHHS's regulations. It actually has in section 3F, and I, to be honest with you, I can't figure out whether this applies or not, but you may wish to discuss with DEP. I actually, when I was head of DEP's oil remediation program, had to comply with this ordinance, I should say the program had to. The prohibition, and I'll read it for you, prohibition of certain floor drain connections. A floor drain may not be connected to a septic system if there is a significant potential for pollutants to discharge into the floor drain. That's the actual language. And there's an exemption in section 6 of that same regulation. And it's an exemption that hopefully applies here to that prohibition. The exemption is reads, let's see. Oh, I didn't write this verbatim. It basically is an exemption from having to get a wastewater disposal license if the system is if the subsurface wastewater system is used for domestic wastewater and if the constituents and concentration are similar to domestic wastewater. In this particular situation, I don't know if how DEP would view a subsurface wastewater system connected to an oil water separator, connected to floor drains in a garage, basically. I know how they would apply it to an auto repair shop or something of that nature. They would say, or for example, they've required discharges to subsurface wastewater discharge systems from car washes to get a full wastewater discharge permit. Obviously, that's a lengthy process and something that hopefully doesn't apply here, but I thought it would be irresponsible if I didn't raise the issue. Maybe you know a lot more about this than I do, and if you do, that's great.
I wouldn't say no, I don't have a ton more information. I did talk with the designer about it, and he said that this sort of system is not one that falls into the significant potential for contamination. I will say, because we are discharging floor drain effluent into we are required to get a class 5 underground injection control well registration. So, and I think one of the reasons this is considered a fairly low risk is the average flow that's anticipated for this is 50 gallons per day for vehicle wash water. It's a very low flow system.
Okay.
But no, I can definitely ask that question, and I can bring it up with the people at the state who review these type of systems.
Well,
as well.
it so happens that this same regulation is the one that applies to injection wells.
Yep.
So it sounds like your designer's already considered this.
Yep. And so it will have another review, not just the local septic approval, but we'll have that additional review with the DEP as well.
Okay. All right. Very good. Thank you.
In this letter right here, that they provided us today is based on the proposed use of the fire station garage area, the risk of contamination is relatively low due to the concerns of the planning board. And regarding failure of the oil water system and undetected spill, the fire department is willing to provide monthly inspections of the oil water separator to ensure the operating as intended. If substantial oil and unsuitable material is encountered in the system, it will be pumped as necessary. Does that help?
I'm sorry, Craig, was that a question to me?
Yeah, I was just saying they're willing to inspect it monthly.
Yeah. Well, oil water separators have to be either inspected on a real regular basis, so you know when you have to pump out the free product. In the containment port, the separators have two sections to them. They have one that collects the oil, another that stores the oil that's collected, and you either have an alarm system on them to tell you when it's getting close to full and needs to be pumped out by somebody like Clean Harbors or somebody like that, or you have to commit to a visual inspection on a regular basis, and also after you've had spills of gasoline or diesel or whatever. And so that's pretty standard protocol if you're going to operate one of these properly. Otherwise, they're not worth the money you spend on them.
So I don't know if I'm feeling that they need a further permit. There's going to be very little, it's low risk, and it's going to be very little.
They're not doing maintenance.
There's no maintenance going on. Quite frankly, if they were to wash it out into the yard, it's gonna be a worse situation without a drain. So I'm not feeling that we need a further.
And now you say a permit or a condition? In other words,
Well, he was
we're
mentioning
talking
about,
about the permit that George was
Yeah.
referring to earlier.
Yeah.
That's something that I think the applicant needs to determine. I'm sure they need to comply with whatever the law is, and that's how I see that.
So, and Joe, please correct me if I get what you said incorrect, but it sounds like the designer has already investigated and concluded that, and possibly had discussions with DEP, that this is considered underground injection well. There's different classes of them, and rather than having to get a permit, you just have to register them. And that's what's going to be done in this particular case. So DEP's come up with that rather than as an alternative to getting a permit. The premise or the basis for that is if oil contamination shows up in a local well or DOT is doing borings along the highway and they come across oil contamination, that's one database that people can go to figure out if there's any oil being discharged to the groundwater. And just remember, this is what I mentioned last week, when you have oil coming out of an oil water separator, or I should say, when you have an oil water separator and then you have an effluent discharge from that, contrary to popular belief, oil does dissolve in water, particularly gasoline. And so in that effluent, you're going to have dissolved compounds that are part of the hundreds that make up petroleum products. And those are the ones that you're concerned about. The oil water separator, if it's working correctly, will get all the free product, but which floats at the surface, but it does not do anything to treat the dissolved phase, and nor does the septic tank system. They're just not designed for that. You might get, if you're lucky, you might get some adsorption to the sludge in the septic tank, but most of it's going to be discharged to the groundwater.
Okay. At this point, I think we probably need to look at the findings of fact. And unless we need to address that any further. Okay, I got a dry mouth here, I can hardly talk. Okay, so this is gonna be about as exciting as the checklist thing that we had last. We need
That's
to,
exciting.
we need to go through the findings of fact and we gotta go through each of us to vote on that particular aspect of the permit. Okay, so you guys ready? Yeah. The board finds that the application for the subject project is complete and applicable. Application fees have been paid in full to the town. Application materials, site plan, and supporting documentation has been submitted by the applicant and are retained in the project file maintained in the Belgrade Town Office under the project name. The applicant has requested in writing that the board waive the following ordinance application requirements. And that would be the buffer standards for commercial development along Route 27. And the other waiver would be the sign standards found in the ordinance. Okay. The applicant has provided supporting documentation to demonstrate to the board's satisfaction that the following ordinance requirements or standards are not applicable due to the project's proposed size, site conditions, design type, and other unique features. The documentation includes the following. And I guess that would be the application and what's that other?
Submissions and.
Public records.
Public records and submissions, submittal.
PRAS is what they said. Public records,
Right.
And submissions.
Public records, and, yeah.
Okay. Okay. The board finds that the project will or will not cause unreasonable soil erosion or a reduction in the land's capacity to hold water such that an unsound or unhealthy condition exists. Based on application submittals, the project's design plan dated
Design plan.
Date,
Yeah,
8/13/24.
8/13.
Okay, the board finds that the project will or will not have an adverse impact on freshwater wetlands. On freshwater wetlands. Will not.
Will not.
Well, no,
George,
Will not.
I will not as well.
With the condition, of course, that, well, never mind. That's someplace else in the findings.
The board finds that the project will or will not have an adverse impact on a lake, pond, stream. A lake, pond, or stream.
Will not. Will not.
well, no,
George,
Will not.
I will not as well. The board finds that the project will not or will provide the adequate stormwater management based on this here would probably be one of the areas of condition that they obtain a stormwater management permit.
Yeah, that would be my opinion.
Okay, so with the condition that they obtain a DEP stormwater management permit, will this project provide adequate? Will.
Will.
well,
Will.
George? I will vote will as well. The board finds that the project will or will not provide adequate sewage disposal.
Will. Will.
well,
Will.
Okay.
Hey, Rich, just a procedural note, on the findings of fact in law form, it asks for, after, the vote, recording of the vote, the basis for the decision for each vote. And what I mean, this is part of the legal requirement, that rather than doing it out, writing a whole couple of sentences or something, we've always based it on the public record and the application submittals, and then used the acronym for that
Okay.
PRAS.
to facilitate, filling that out as we go.
All right.
so on D, you may want to write. So it will, and then put with condition and PRABS, whatever it is.
Okay, and same with C, that based on public record and application submittals.
Yes,
And the same with D, public record.
with condition.
Okay, on to E. The board finds that the project will or will not provide adequate sewage disposal. Oh, we just voted on that, didn't we? Public- Okay, the board finds that the project is not or is located in a floodplain area. Is not. Is not. Is not, okay,
Is not.
Is not,
George?
I didn't hear which,
Oh, is the floodplain ordinance.
oh,
it-
is not.
The board finds that the project will not or will result in air or water pollution.
Will not.
Will not.
Well, no,
Will not.
George? I will not, I'll vote will not as well. The board finds that the project will not or will have sufficient drinking water for current and foreseeable needs of the development.
Will.
Will.
Nick?
well,
George?
Will.
Will as well. The board finds that the project along or in conjunction with existing activities will not or will adversely impact quality or quantity of groundwater.
Will not.
Will not.
well, no,
Will
George?
not on with the condition that was proposed.
Okay. The board finds that the proposed activity will dispose of all solid waste in conformance with all local regulations. And that the type and quantity of waste proposed to be sent to the town transfer facility will not or will exceed its capacity.
Will.
I think
Will
you,
not.
Will not.
did you, will not, will be the one where it's not
Let's
gonna
see, yeah.
affect it.
Fact, still will not.
Will not.
Will not.
Greg,
well, no,
George,
Will not.
will not as well. Based on public record. And application submittal. We're getting there. The alarm clock goes off in 10 minutes. The board finds that the project will not or will have significant detrimental effect on adjacent land uses or properties affected by waste, noise, glare, lighting, fumes, smoke, dust, odors, or their effects from the project. Will or will not?
Will not.
Will not.
well, no,
George?
Will not.
George?
Will not.
And I vote will not as well. The board finds that the project will not or will cause unreasonable highway or public road congestion or unsafe conditions with respect to the use of existing or proposed highways or roads. Either will affect or will not affect.
Will not.
Will not.
well,
George?
Will not.
George?
Will not.
I will vote will not as well.
I think George is on a little delay up there.
I'm getting an echo effect on my speaker, I guess.
Okay, the board finds that the project to the maximum extent possible will not or will have an adverse effect on the scenery or natural beauty of the area, aesthetics, historic and archaeological sites, or any public rights for physical and visual access to the shoreline of a waterhole.
Will not.
Will not.
well, no,
George?
Will not.
And I vote will not as well. The board finds that the project to the maximum extent possible will not or will have an adverse effect on significant wildlife habitat and critical natural areas identified by the Maine Beginning with Habitat Program, Maine Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife, Maine Department of Conservation Critical Natural Areas Program, or the Town of Belgrade Comprehensive Plan.
Will not.
Will not
Will not with the condition.
condition, yeah, okay.
well, no,
George?
Will not.
The board finds that the project does not conform or does conform with all other applicable town of Belgrade ordinances, including but not limited to shoreline zoning, minimum lot size, subdivision, multifamily dwelling, manufactured housing and mobile home park, solid waste and recycling, municipal street and road, adult business, supplemental junkyard and auto graveyard and tree ordinances. You guys aren't gonna have any adult business in the fire station, are you?
At least not permanent.
You know, on poles.
It does. It does conform,
Does.
right? We're George,
Does.
okay, we voted there, and positive. The board finds that the project will not or will unreasonably increase the concentration of phosphorus in a great pond based on yeah,
PR.
we'll leave it at that. Article 6, standards, section 15. So we'll increase the phosphorus.
Well, not, you want to do that with the condition or with the,
Oh, we are, I think this would be one with the condition that they get the DEP permit for stormwater.
okay, so how would you do that? With-
Uh,
Well,
so,
not with the condition.
Well, not with the condition.
Will not.
great, George,
Will not.
the board finds that the project will not or will conform to material storage provisions of this ordinance.
Will.
Will.
Well,
Will.
George? We vote will as well. The board finds that the applicant has or does not have sufficient right, title, or interest to undertake the development.
As.
As.
as,
George,
Has.
we vote has as well. The board finds that the applicant does or does not provide for a safe and adequate parking area.
Does.
Does.
George,
Does.
okay. The board finds that the project will not or will conform to all applicable provisions of this ordinance, including but not limited to development standards for specific activities where applicable.
Will.
Will.
will with conditions.
George,
Will.
I vote will as well. Okay, we got through that part. Therefore, the board proves subject to the application and
It seems like it's in the wrong spot.
seems like that.
The approvals, kind of, still have to go over the conditions.
Yeah.
This seems like it's in the wrong spot of our checklist.
The conditions should go first and then.
Yeah, so the next page is conditions.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go over that first and then.
Yeah, let me, I'm just filling in some. Preliminary stuff. Okay, let's go to the conditions,
You can start with the standard conditions and then we'll move on to,
pardon me,
you can start right here with the standard conditions.
okay, standard conditions, I'll read these to you so that you hear them directly. These are conditions that are assigned to all the permits we issue. if construction has not been substantially started within, and that's 36 months now, correct?
Correct.
Within
Yes.
36 months of board approval, this approval and subsequent permit from the Belgrade Code Enforcement Officer are null and void. So you've got 3 years to start the project. The substantial start, not just tearing down a tree. The board approved of this project, board approval of this project as described above is limited to that described in the application and depicted in the accompanying plan and other application submissions. Except to the extent that the board has expressly indicated in this document that certain depictions may be revised by the applicant without further review and approval by the board, any changes to the application, site plan, and other supporting application submissions must receive prior approval from the board, including but not limited to changes in the proposed location of structures, roads, parking, vehicle entrance and exit, wells, subsurface wastewater disposal system, the method of waste disposal, and the extent and location of vegetated areas, material storage, outdoor lighting and signage, and methods of stormwater and phosphorus runoff control. Basically, it's saying you get a permit for what you applied for, not anything else, not anymore. Unless a waiver from a specific ordinance standard has been requested by the applicant in writing and approved by the board, the development or use is required to meet all applicable ordinance standards. This board approval and its associated permit from the code enforcement officer is transferable to subsequent owners of the property. Any subsequent owners are required to comply with the conditions of the project's board approval. Okay, so we have the conditions of approval. I'm gonna go back to this. First condition would be that prior to construction, including clearing of vegetation. Well, hold on, so project construction, including clearing of vegetation, may not be initiated until all the following state permits have been approved by the applicable agencies and copies provided to the Belgrade Code Enforcement Officer. MDEP permit, stormwater management plan permit, MDEP permit under the Natural Resources Protection Act. And I guess that's it. And this condition does not apply to the demolition of existing structures on the property.
Isn't there an oil water separator in addition to?
Yes, that was number one. Prior to, never mind. The development, including the subsurface discharge of effluent from the proposed oil water separator serving the fire station floor drains, shall not increase any contaminant concentration in groundwater to more than 1/2 of the primary drinking water standard, or to a concentration exceeding the secondary drinking water standards established by Maine Department of Health and Human Services Center for Disease Control. So those are our two. Do we have any more?
Rich?
Yes.
Maybe I missed this early on. The second condition was providing the MDEP certified excavation contractor's name and number before start of construction. Is that no longer needed?
No, that's as well. That one's appropriate.
That'd be number 3.
Number 2,
Yeah, you'd be let on number 3 now.
that's the one that we need to certify. So we have 3 conditions. Do we want to vote on, or do we already voted on this condition, did we not?
I believe so. Now we can just go with the whole process, right?
Yeah. So we voted on the conditions, we've approved these, we voted on the 2 waivers and the 3 conditions to the permit. And now we voted on the findings of fact. I think it is time to vote on the application as a whole, approve it or deny it.
I make a motion that we approve the permit of the Belgrade Fire Station, 1852 Augusta Road. 1387 Augusta Road.
I second it.
We've got a second from Nick of Craig's motion. Any discussion? Oh.
Yeah, Rich,
Yes.
I don't recall us, I think this, we didn't have a separate vote on the findings of fact and law, but I think this would suffice to cover that as well, which includes the approval of the project and its permit. Am I correct in that?
Craig's gonna amend it.
The approval of the commercial development findings of fact and conclusion of laws.
As well as approving the application.
All right, I second that.
Okay, Peter? Yes.
Yes,
Yes,
George?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. So 5-0 vote. In favor of the application. Application's been approved. I believe the permit will actually come from Hans. And, good luck.
Thank you.
Not good luck.
Thank you.
Still got some still work to do.
Yeah. Okay.
Hey, Rich, this question is not so much from a planning board member as a member of Belgrade citizenry. I was just curious what the status of the grant was.
Been denied this year, we're reapplying for next year, so all the grants have been canceled for this year. Yeah, they canceled all CDS spending this year, so we're reapplying for next year. But we're coming up with a couple different plans and meeting next week, so.
Well,
Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks for all you do.
That's why we still got that work to do. Thank you, though.
Yeah, take care. Break. 2-minute break, sure.
All the grants you got from EPA, so. Still good, clear, yeah, we had some CDS grants that we were working on. They said. Thanks. Yep.
There's something, Hans, we have to hand around for signatures?
No,
No, not
that's on
that.
the next one we will.
You ready to move on? Okay, our next application is the application for applicant Jeff Ayotte, owner of the property, Amy Ayotte, for reconstruction and expansion of the old failing retaining wall in an effort to reduce runoff and erosion. Now, this also, I think, does this application include the request for riprap along the shoreline?
Yes.
Okay, could you, kind of, well, where's the original? I don't know how to do it. The application just talks about the old retaining wall. It doesn't, say anything about shoreline stabilization. Pardon me?
Do you have the images?
Yeah, that, but I'm thinking the cover page where it says proposed construction or change of use, it doesn't address the riprap on the
You're right.
shore.
So. I guess we'll leave you to write it.
Yeah.
And grab the pen.
Rich, do we have it? We don't have any jurisdiction below the normal high water mark, do we?
Well, some of this work will be above the normal high water line.
Well, they've got the permit by rule for the riprap.
Yeah.
And you're right, we don't make anybody else pull a permit
We never
to
have,
do riprap, no.
okay, all right.
So
And they've got that permit from DEP or at least have submitted it.
it's in the.
You know
permit
if
by
you
rule.
received it?
I submitted it and I never received a receipt.
Yeah.
It's right here.
I see
Page
it, but
two.
I just, just submitting it doesn't mean you've got the permit.
No, it's active,
Pardon me,
it's approved.
it's been approved?
Excuse me, question. That permit by rule, the same one that the Lakes Association, not the Lakes Association, the,
Yes, I submitted that permit
private,
for Jeff.
oh, you did?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
you, okay.
I'm
you-
Stuart. I'm from Seven Lakes
Oh,
Alliance.
I know you look familiar, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
I gotta talk to you later.
I'm glad you said that, but I didn't know that. So-
Yeah, sorry about that.
And we do have in the audience, we've got Stuart Cole.
Yep.
Yeah, and Jeff Ayotte. Okay, you want to replace the retaining wall and expand it. Do you have any,
So yeah, the reason why Seven Lakes Alliance wants to expand it is so that it covers across the property more.
Mhm.
Burton Woods Road, all the properties on the road are really steep going down to the lake, and the driveway there kind of channels all the water in between his outbuildings and his house. And the way it goes down the hill right now, it just washes right by the edge of the current retaining wall. There's some pictures in there of like the washout that comes through there. So
so as far as the expansion, that area there can't be dealt with in terms of vegetation with the, is it the slope, won't hold the vegetation?
The slope is getting worse and worse. So we're thinking of building the retaining wall that goes all the way across the whole, the top section in place.
One thing I noticed on the drawing, is, well, it's the second one in, the first sketch, not sketch, it's a well-designed drawing here. There's a patio shown on the, behind the, berm or whatever.
Yeah.
Is that there already?
Yes, it is.
It is. okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so we believe the old retaining wall was the original parking area, the camp that was there 40+ years ago.
And this retaining wall is gonna be constructed with what material?
Gagnon Sons has like a precast block.
Uh,
And that's the product that we're gonna use,
And it's gonna be how high?
about 7.5 feet.
In the very front, and then the sides where it goes out.
Yeah.
It goes back up the hill, those are gonna be smaller,
Smaller.
less height, yeah.
And you're planning? Yeah, okay. You're planning, shrubs and stuff in front and behind the wall? Is that how I read it?
Yes,
Yep.
yeah,
What type of shrubs would you,
not really sure on the shrubs yet, but we're gonna plant some cedar trees and also a birch tree that are down by the water.
oh, that's, I saw that.
Yeah, but the shrubs, I didn't really have anything spec'd out yet.
Okay. Are there, George, you have any questions or anybody here?
And it's a fire shrubs, you know. I like to use the blueberry bush and stuff like that, you know.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
why I'd recommend it, it's, yeah, it needs to be something that isn't gonna interfere with the integrity of the retaining wall, and it's also suitable for being underneath the trees. And there's a lot of, it's pretty wet ground in there
Yeah.
too, so blueberries are kind of a prime choice
Say
in
in
that
front of
area.
the, front of the wall there, if you got any sunshine, you plant some high bush blueberries, you wouldn't have to worry about, your blueberry crop for the.
Yeah.
You have to fight off the birds, they'll get birds again.
Yeah.
Chipmunks like that.
And chipmunks, yeah.
Any questions, further questions?
I don't.
Rich, I have a few.
Yeah,
I was curious what the height of the existing wall is from the ground currently.
It's pretty much about like 6 feet, but it's definitely fallen a good 1.5 feet, if not 2 feet from where the original wall was.
The reason I ask is, this is a non-conforming structure, and there's a special exemption for, retaining walls, which would apply to the new, what you're proposing that's new, but I just want to make sure we're not expanding or making an existing non-conforming structure more non-conforming by making it taller.
George, this is a retaining wall for the purpose of erosion control.
Right?
The ordinance has a special place for it, and while it is being expanded, the current conditions necessitate that this wall, something be done. And that's why Seven Lakes Alliance is involved.
Right. No, I understand. The pictures are do a good job of documenting the soil erosion problem and the stormwater runoff problem from upslope. And I was glad to hear that something's going to be done further closer to the source of the problem as well. But so I compliment Mr. Ayotte on this project. But that exemption, and Rich or anybody else can correct me if I'm wrong, doesn't negate or supersede the requirement in the ordinance that you can't make a non-conforming structure more non-conforming.
I guess what I guess one of my thoughts, and I haven't thought this through yet, but we have a non-conforming structure based on setback from the water. But I'm not sure there's anything in the ordinance that addresses that making it a foot higher causes it to be more non-conforming.
Okay.
Because there's no standard specifically, other than the retaining walls there's a section in there on retaining walls where you don't have to meet the setback. Let's see, you can create a retaining wall closer to the setback when it's not there for erosion control, just to make it more flat. It doesn't talk anything about height or anything like
That's
that.
limited to 2 feet, so
Pardon me?
That.
That
is
one's
limited
2
to
feet, yeah.
So that's
But
why
that-
this is for erosion control.
Yeah, this one
We kinda-
is.
We can go outside the rules.
Yeah, the 2 foot one is for things that aren't for erosion.
Yeah, for landscape.
Yeah.
So, Rich, that brings me to my that answers my first question. I was just wondering if by increasing the height of the retaining wall made it more non-conforming, and you're right. I mean, the ordinance is silent on that, and I guess that means it's not an issue. But on the portion that is the newly proposed portion, the expansion, is, and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm not reading the profile drawings correctly, but that's proposed to be 2.5 feet high at the lake side or the downslope side, and the ordinance only allows a maximum of 2 feet. Do I have that correct?
Well, that 2 foot one is for projects that aren't related to erosion control. What the ordinance says is that you can have is basically if you had a slanted area in front of your camp. And you can put in a 2 foot retaining wall. So that you can kind of flatten that area out for, say, sitting purposes. But it requires that the vegetation in front of it basically to kind of hide the structure. But I don't know. So anyway, the 2 foot pertains to structures not related to erosion control.
Oh, okay. So I thought the way I read this was that even this exemption was for those that are intended for erosion control only, not so you can have a patio to drink martinis on. And and that oh, okay. So all those standards after section 6 don't apply to a retaining wall that's being used for soil erosion control. Am I reading? Is that correct?
Yeah, that's
That's
correct.
what I read.
So the 15-foot buffer and all those use of native species and all that don't apply.
Yes, although I would certainly hope if maybe we could even condition that the plantings be of native.
I think I wrote that in the.
Yeah.
Yeah. The drawing actually specifies that that it'll be native species. It's only 4 to 5 feet wide. That's one reason why I asked about the 15-foot vegetative buffer.
The
Anyway, you answered my question. That 15 feet width of the vegetative buffer doesn't apply in this instance. I misread that.
Okay. Question. I assume. I didn't have such good pictures with me before today. But the expanded area. Is that gonna be filled to the top of the retaining wall? So, although on the edges. It'll still have some slant to it, but at the top of the main retaining wall, I assume that's gonna be pretty much level or a little below.
Be a little bit of a lip, I think, right,
Yeah.
right before you get to it, I mean. About that much so that nothing.
Yeah.
Goes over it, we'll have mulch behind there when we do the planting and all that, so. But it'll be, yeah, essentially be flat.
So what's the intention with the water?
Having,
Where's it going?
so it's gonna be backfilled with crushed stone. And have a driveway and then have a drain leading out. Like a French drain perforated pipe leading out. Where it's like it's detailed in one of the pictures. But the idea of having the wall isn't to catch the water, it's to slow the water down and keep it from being channeled into one spot that it's in right now.
Now, where did you say the first rock was going?
That's what's getting backfilled along the base of the
So it
retaining
gets
wall.
filtered.
Yeah, so it gets
Oh,
filtered,
okay.
yeah, cause there'll be, layers of fabric in there.
Now, you're gonna, not that this is, important to the application, but is the, Conservation Corps gonna do the riprap or?
Yeah, the
We're not
conservation
even
corps is gonna do
dealing
the
with that.
riprap, they're not gonna be doing the retaining wall.
No, okay.
I have a question.
Yeah.
On the riprap that was shoreline, what kind of rocks you putting in there? No, ground rocks?
It'll be, oh no, it'll be granite, it has to be crushed, or it has to be angular, so it'll be a granite blast.
So it'll be what?
Granite.
Granite. Okay, so it'll be what, how big a piece of?
I asked for 6 to 12, 6 to 18 inch, but there always ends up being a lot of smaller pieces too, so it's
Okay.
everything 12 inches down to about 4 inches.
That's standard across pretty much what you guys use around the lake.
Yeah, yep, it's the stuff we use everywhere, we get it from a place over in New Sharon. And
Okay.
then they dump it and we pick through it and leave all those small pieces. Stack them up on the edge of the driveway or haul them off if we need to.
Alright.
Okay. One other, and I may have asked this question, you may have answered it, but, the vegetation is gonna be across the entire wall, not just the old wall?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. And then, and we're planning on doing more down right on the shoreline as well with the trees.
Okay. Any other questions? Do I have a, thing to fill out?
Check them.
I'm gonna check. Thanks.
And as far as all the elevations go on the wall, those were based off the side of the blocks. And getting it as close to what the original was as possible, with the size of the blocks that we're using.
Okay, see, reconstruction. Okay, we're going through the findings of fact at this point, for the application of Jeff Ayotte at 189 Burton Woods Drive. And by vote, the board found this standard was or was not met, will maintain safe and healthful conditions.
Well,
Yes.
George?
Well, and you probably already thought of this, but you need to complete the basis, the basis for that again.
Yeah. Let's see, public record and application submittals, will not result in water pollution, erosion, and sedimentation to surface waters.
will not.
Will not.
George?
Will not.
Will not have an adverse impact on spawning grounds, fish, aquatic life, bird, or other wildlife habitat.
Will not.
Will not.
Will not.
I got ahead of myself here. Will, gotta go back to will adequately provide for disposal of all wastewaters. I think that's not applicable, isn't it?
Yeah, they're not doing
Yeah.
Will conserve shore cover and visual as well as actual points of access to inland waters.
Will.
So, George?
Yes,
So will.
Yes. Will,
Okay.
whatever.
Will protect archaeological and historic resources as designated in the comprehensive plan.
NA.
Could be NA, well, it's gonna protect them, I'd say NA, I guess,
Yeah, I would go with NA.
Will avoid problems associated with floodplain development and use.
NA, I think.
I would say NA as well. Okay, is in conformance with the provisions of the land use standards.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go down through and, minimum lot standards, NA. Principal and accessory structures, does it in conformance with the provisions of the accessory structures?
I say NA, because it's nothing.
No, this is an accessory structure.
This?
So,
Yeah.
that one's involved, that one's
Okay.
included.
So,
Yeah.
will it conform with?
Yes.
Yes. Did you say?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes,
George? Does it conform with the standards for accessory structures? I think he fell asleep.
I don't think you can hear us.
Can you hear us, George?
Oh, now I can. You cut out for a while. Yes,
Okay. I vote yes as well, 5-0 in favor.
it might happen again because I just got a message saying my internet's unstable.
Oh, as long as you're not unstable.
Well, depends on who you ask.
Does she normally go
yeah.
down on this and check them out?
We can't
I think-
just vote them all.
I think she goes down and she goes
And then
and then
decide.
vote on 8 as a whole, check out which ones, and then she goes back and. listens
Okay.
just to-
All right, we'll do that. Campgrounds, NA. Individual private campsites, NA. Commercial industrial structures, NA, or uses. Parking areas. You're not parking on this particular area.
No,
NA.
blueberry bushes. but then-
Roads and driveways. Signs, NA. Stormwater runoff, that is an issue. We'll deal with that one. Septic waste disposal, NA. Essential services, NA. Mineral extraction, no, NA. Agriculture, NA. Timber harvesting, land management roads, NA. Clearing and removal of vegetation, you're not cutting any trees or anything. Hazard trees, NA. Exemptions to clearing and vegetating removal standards, NA. Revegetation requirements, well. Certainly that's appropriate, I guess, you gotta revegetate, no doubt about that. Erosion and sedimentation control, yes, shoreline stabilization.
Yeah.
Actually, that. We can check it off, but because we're not dealing with that, it may not, it could be an NA. Cause
I
we're
would
not,
say it is, it's not part of this application.
okay. I understand that. Soils, I'd say yes. Water quality, yes. Historical and archaeological sites, NA. Resource protection, NA. Okay, so the things we have to cover that we haven't covered yet are stormwater runoff. Now, we can't vote on these as a bulk thing, right?
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Pardon me?
Yeah,
Go down.
We do, we have them?
yeah, vote on the vote.
Okay, here are the issues that we need to vote whether they are, standards have been met. Stormwater runoff, revegetation requirements, erosion and sedimentation control, soils and water quality. We have a motion, or can we just start with Nick? Do you?
Yes,
Yes,
where all standards have been met.
Yes,
George? I
Yes,
will go yes as well. Okay, let's see.
Conditions approved.
Yeah, I'm trying. Okay, here are the conditions of approval. Manage stormwater runoff from new and expanded structures in accordance with section 15I of the Belgrade Shoreline zoning ordinance. In the Maine Department of Environmental Protection's best management practices as outlined in the conservation practices for homeowner publication. Such measures are to be put in place prior to building use. Note, this is a standard condition that applies to all permits unless deemed unnecessary by the planning board, based on the following rationale. Rationale is that they follow the standards of the ordinance. And I guess is this another one where we had to do the public record and application submittals?
no, this is,
Pardon me?
you're just telling them they have to follow them.
That's just
Okay.
a standard that every application.
Well, the only reason it says based on the following rationale, and then they got rationale, I don't know.
That one's optional, I think. There's a little box next to it.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah,
there's a little rationale and
And then you can check that if you want it next. One, two, I
then,
got,
oh,
You know,
okay.
yeah, one of them's optional.
yeah.
Okay.
We don't have any other conditions other than the standards.
Yeah.
Okay, and then condition number 2, for all construction projects located within 100 feet horizontal feet of the normal high water line of the Great Pond or 75 feet from a wetland or other water body and located in woody vegetation.
Yeah, that one does apply.
That doesn't apply to anything here? Okay, so I need to make a box here. Screw up there. Do we have any other conditions that we need to consider?
No,
Okay. Have a motion.
yes, I'll make a motion to approve Jeff Ayout's application for 189 Burton Road, Woods Road. Expand retaining wall.
I second,
Seconded by Craig. We've had a motion to approve the application. Any discussion?
No,
No? Vote for money.
not yet.
Okay, so we'll vote on that motion to approve the application.
Yes,
Craig?
Yes.
Nick, yes.
yes,
George?
yes,
And I vote yes as well.
Yeah.
Then you got your permit. Or you'll get the permit.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you very much, guys.
Yeah.
Have a good night. You're just gonna like email
Yeah.
the permit. Awesome.
My son just got a job.
When are you gonna start?
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Who's your son?
And
Hopefully, once the road
May 9th.
kind of dries out and.
Checking his
Just want to
water.
make sure.
You do CBI, okay, yeah.
So I gotta call. I'm not on that end of things at all,
No.
but.
Yeah, no, he's excited. So-
Yeah, no, that's a good job, I
May
mean.
19th.
Yo,
Yes.
oh, it's a good job, I mean, you can just sit and read.
You see, him,
Actually-
sure he's doing.
Yeah, I'll keep an eye out for it. Thank you.
You gotta send it, Chop.
Okay.
Oh, you gotta send it out with this.
oh,
I'll double check. You want me to be called?
Yeah, Chop signature.
yeah,
No.
How about the date?
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure you're off this.
Nick, what's anything going?
sample makes lines.
Gonna be, what is it?
Checking the boat, yeah. Oh, 40 hours a
I
week.
thought he was pumping the rocks.
No, no,
I
no.
was gonna say, he doesn't know what he got.
No, I'm checking the boats. May 19th to, October 19th.
Okay.
Where, which like,
I don't know, I don't think they've told me, he requested Sam.
What time do you want?
well, if you go to East Pond, I
Yeah,
got a place for them to hang out.
yeah,
I did.
I have a place on East Pond.
yeah, I think he signed it, he already signed it. Peter signed it, yeah, yeah, he's gonna get Sam, we were talking.
Okay, great. George, you wanna sign this by email?
Can't do it electronically, I guess, anymore.
That's, we'll come back.
Yeah, by any facts, you're gonna get a sign.
What is that? Oh, this is,
Yeah.
I gotta finish filling it in. But I will, and I leave the hand control it down. Okay, what else we got? What is that agenda?
Right after, rescind the permit, old business. No,
So,
the rescind permit, yeah.
Yeah, the letter.
The letter rescind.
Okay, do we have to, we gotta vote on this,
It's been to the attorney. He tweaked it, sent it back.
What are we doing with that? We're gonna vote? We can vote.
I gotta even find it. Oh, here it is. So we're gonna vote to whether this is okay?
I think they have to do it.
Well, you sent one to the attorney, he tweaked it, sent it back, so I guess this is for approval to send out, or, I mean.
Oh, okay, so this is from the attorney, this is after the attorney's recommendations or changes.
They got two that's in there.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't see how or why we should disagree with this.
Well, no, just the wording is two that's back to back, that.
Oh, okay.
I don't know, just wanna scratch that off probably before we send it out.
You got that, Hans? Down at next to the last line, it says,
Typo.
court held that.
Oh, yeah.
You can't have that. Three bats.
Other than that, I guess it's okay, isn't it?
Yeah.
You wanna vote on it or just, declare it's okay?
Give it the nod, I guess.
I'm good.
Alright,
Right.
we're all okay with it.
All right, it's the nod.
George, you don't have the letter in front of you, do you?
No, but to the extent that it matters, I would have recused myself because I wasn't at the meeting where this was discussed,
Okay.
and nor was I part of the vote.
I guess I should recuse myself then too, because I wasn't at the time. But certainly the content of the letter to me sounds okay and everybody else does too.
Yes, it's so.
Okay.
Right.
Wait, here's teacher. Elections. Now Sarah didn't say not to elect her. My thought is, do we want to do this without Sarah?
I put it off.
Yeah.
She's the one that said put it on the agenda.
Yeah,
So-
she's the one-
I mean,
Knowing she wasn't gonna be here?
George, did she talk to you about,
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you, Hans.
did Sarah talk to you about elections?
No.
She didn't say anything about not wanting to be the chairman.
Well, she hadn't discussed it with me at all, and so she didn't say she didn't want to do it. She didn't say she wanted to do it.
Do we want to table this till she's here? Or do we
I
wanna
think
just
I think
spread
that
it?
would be the appropriate thing.
Okay. Because I would vote for Sarah if she was here.
Me too.
I actually, what's that, you too?
Sure.
But she's not here, we'll table this item. Yeah. Okay, and then we have old business. Follow through from 116 meeting discussion. Planning board needs to address the CDR application checklist and avoid the instructions.
Yeah, Penny, this is something you picked up in the minutes from 116 and said. It's
Yeah,
going
we
to be
did.
on the agenda, so it's on the agenda.
And we discussed it at the last meeting too, not the 26th, but the 20th. And I don't think we came to any conclusion, we just talked about it. Yeah, in the minutes of the 20th. The discussion with the planning board needs to, and the decision filed the checklist with it, it says the same thing, so I don't know if that's the decision or we need to do further. To me, it's done, file the checklist with the application.
I think it was about having the application and the checklist follow each other. People fill out the application, come here and we say, well, it's incomplete because you don't have an engineered survey. And that's not part of the application, even though it is
Something.
in the ordinance.
It says-
Not everybody fills out the application while they're reading the ordinance. So there's an awareness gap there.
So that's still an issue at this point.
Yes, it is.
Why don't I try to look at that before the next meeting and see, or is it just that one issue?
Well, there's a few things. No, the checklist doesn't follow the application,
Mhm.
which
Yeah.
doesn't really follow the ordinance. It'd be nice if they went in the same order or a very similar order.
Okay.
So that if somebody's filling out the application and they do see the checklist, that they could say, all right, I have this, I
Mhm.
don't have that, because, you know, line 1, line 2, line 3. So if the checklist can be rearranged to follow the application,
Can you supply me with a copy of the checklist before I go?
sure,
All right, I'll go through and
it's in the ordinance.
the ordinance. I've got the ordinance.
So,
Oh, it's in the ordinance?
no, I'll give you an application.
This is the new one, right? New ordinance.
That's the new one.
Yeah, thank you.
I will, you didn't punch it for us.
I've been hearing that.
Have you? Anyway, I will see what I can do before the next meeting to work on that and see if I can provide or add, at least in fill in the blank type thing if I can.
Okay, and
I'm not
just,
much of a typist, so I'll look at
if you want holes in your ordinance, just leave them here. I'll take them
that.
apart, put holes in them, put them back.
I can punch my hole.
No, it's,
Okay. Next item, approve the previous minutes, 3/6 and 3/26. We'll do
And
3/6
3/20.
first. Pardon me?
And 320.
Oh, we got 3 of them? Oh, I see. Yeah. Okay, first we'll do 3/6. Still reading?
That's, March sixth,
Pardon me?
March sixth, we're good with March sixth, I think.
Yeah, okay, why don't we go over March sixth?
Is it all right with you if I take, the address off at the top and add minutes?
You can, no reason why. You can't. Take, you say the address?
Yeah, it says 990 Augusta Road, Belgrade, take those off and add the word minutes at the top and take draft off. Is that okay with you?
Sure. I think
Well,
so.
the drafts.
All the drafts.
Should-
I can't just have minutes. The town of Belgrade planning board minutes. Just do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the draft will have to come off after we vote them in.
Yeah.
I had one question, Penny, on the first applicant A, about halfway down the first paragraph, it says he lives on the station road below the property. This is the guy who was talking about the drainage. Look at the elevation, it says Hans will look at the elevation map, but the applicant is a landscaper, so he'll probably have to elevate it a bit more. This was, I'm wondering how the fact that he's a landscaper, he'd have to elevate it. a little bit more. Was it more that he has the ability to elevate it if he needed to?
Oh, because he is a landscaper, he knows he has to, was my take on it. Is that the way you see it, Hans?
Yeah, I've been by the site a couple times and while the ground was frozen in the rain, yeah, the water ran right over the side, but now that the ground, there's no snow there. The water disperses,
It's
so it's
okay.
not an issue. But they are landscapers, if they see an issue, they're gonna deal with it.
What I would suggest is
They're gonna be making that property into a showroom, so.
maybe we could just change that to, he may have to elevate rather than probably.
He may,
Because that would have been the way we would have addressed it at the meeting itself, is that Hans gonna look at it, he may have to do something. Any other comments?
No,
We have a motion,
I can vote to accept the minutes for March sixth.
we have a second,
Second,
any discussion? All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Great,
yes,
George, you don't have these, do you?
No, so I'm going to recuse myself as a consequence.
Okay, I will vote to approve the minutes of March 6, 2025. Do I have to do anything further? Or is this just on the record that we approve the minutes?
Yeah.
I'm gonna put George abstaining
Yes.
for
Or one
one
abstention. Abstention, okay. Peter Sergeant, Craig Alexander, and Nick, we have a quorum to vote on these minutes.
Yeah.
Tell me when you're ready, you guys.
All right.
Okay, you ready, Craig? Yeah. All right, any what comments or whatever on that?
No,
On the back page, it says approved previous minutes, 3/6/2025. They weren't available, so I would suggest putting minutes not available.
Mhm.
I mean, possibly on B. You, where it says, they were of the understanding that the amendment to the ordinance was in the works, you could add in that. Lakeside Church location. Is to be will be located in the new comprehensive planning board if it passes. That's what we'll be covering.
Lakes Christian Fellowship will be,
Their location is in the growth area. It will be voted on, so that's what we'll get them, we're not gonna be amending the ordinances. Well, if the town will, if it gets voted through, but just that they're covered because their location is covered in the growth area.
okay,
And you
Lakes
don't
Christian Fellowship
just, that's how they're getting in,
will be located in the
potentially,
growth area.
potentially,
Potential growth area.
if voted in by the town,
Okay,
if the town votes in.
if voted in by the town.
Right.
Yeah, okay,
Okay,
thank you.
so all those in favor of the minutes of March 20th, is it?
Yep, you make a motion, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of March 20th
As amended,
as amended.
Do we have a second?
yes, I second,
Peter seconded it. All those in favor?
yes.
Yes,
I'm abstaining,
Yes,
George is abstaining,
Yes, I'm abstaining.
yeah, and myself, so it's a 3-0 vote, Peter, Craig and Nick.
all three, okay, Peter. Greg and Nick, okay. Are you abstaining too?
I am, I wasn't there at that meeting.
So two abstain,
Two, yep.
gotcha. Okay,
Okay, minutes of 3:26, look like a little quicker.
yeah.
Everybody done?
Yeah,
Okay, the only comments I have are we weren't working with and this is the first paragraph under A. Applicant town Belgrade. First, it's 2 sentences, but it says complete, make sure the application was complete by doing findings of fact. It was the application checklist, not the findings of fact.
Oh,
Yeah, that was what we did tonight. We did the
Oh,
findings
right.
of fact and
Okay.
But
The
that
application,
doing application checklist. And so then at the last paragraph where all things are listed, it
yes,
says the FO. Fulfill or whatever, that's the application checklist as well.
yeah. But to see if it was complete,
Yeah,
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
checklist is to see if it's complete, and if there's any facts is the last thing we do. To prove it.
okay, thank you.
The only thing I had is, when you go down that list, if you wanted to add signage, because we did a waiver for the signage, it was kind of a key,
You're right.
Signage,
yeah,
okay.
a question.
And it was, you did receive it, right? Did
Yeah.
we receive everything on that list that's in the minutes?
Today,
We didn't receive all the things, but we addressed all the things.
Okay, good. Okay, and, I think it, under online attendees, I noticed that I had Don Martin and his name is Joe, so is it all right if I change that to Joe?
Yeah,
Oh,
Yeah,
in the letter,
Joe,
Joe.
what did it say, Don?
I said Don,
Oh, no, it's
that's what it
Joe.
sounded like on the video, so that's okay to change
Yeah,
that.
yeah, I would definitely change it.
Okay,
Any other things?
make a motion to approve the minutes of 3/26/25
as amended.
as amended.
You got a second,
Second,
Peter?
yes,
Okay.
Yes,
All those in favor?
yes.
yes.
Yes,
I'll vote yes as well.
so four,
Or nothing with George abstaining.
Yes, I'm abstaining again.
Okay. What else do we have tonight? I think we've. There's discussion. You wanna sit here and discuss, or you wanna go home?
yeah, I think
Do we have, pardon me, yeah, do you have anything for us?
Serious.
No?
Yeah, yeah, the glass.
and I
Okay,
can leave that and you'll punch it for me?
Yeah, I'll cover it next time. Yeah, I think we've gotten through the hump. We had a backlog, but I think we're through it now.
Yeah.
So I'll
Good.
get you that. CDRO application and checklist. Before we leave.
George, you wanna make a motion, get us out of here tonight?
Absolutely.
Nice,
oh, we got a motion. Do we have a second?
yes, I second that.
Okay.
George made the
All
motion,
those in favor?
Yes.
yes,
Aye.
aye.
You got the findings of that, you're gonna work
Have a
on it.
good one, George.
Which one you talking about?
Night, George.